when I was a kid, my mum used to take me to castles. It used to be a big day out for us where we'd wake up early, mum would pack some sandwiches, and we'd go and drive out to a castle, and it would be a big day out. And for the bigger ones, like Warwick or Windsor, there was always something going on, some kind of jousting tournament or archery show or something that would make it, a big event. I used to love the medieval period when I was a boy, as most boys do. I mean, I still do to this day. Still waiting on Total War Medieval 3, by the way. And I think when we used to go on these days out, my mum was maybe hoping that I'd be learning something, taking in some of the history and really expanding my mind. And to be honest with you, maybe I was in some kind of way. But what I was really doing was actually taking notes for Stronghold 2. Now, if you guys don't know what Stronghold 2 is, it's probably the first PC game I ever played. And it's basically a medieval city builder. But it is one of my fondest childhood games. And even though the community kind of ranked Stronghold 2 quite low from what I've seen, in the Stronghold game tier lists, for me, it's absolutely my favorite. I mean, I've never really played any of the others. It was just Stronghold 2 that I really played, and I played the hell out of it, let me tell you. But it's the reason why I love city builders to this day, and it kind of laid the foundations for what I like in my city builders. And I've never quite found something that scratched the itch as well as Stronghold 2 has. What I wouldn't give for a properly updated Stronghold 2. And I have tried a few that kind of try to hit that niche, but I don't know what it is. There's something about this game that is just magical for me. Anyway, I remember that there was a castle kind of free build mode, and I used to spend hours and hours creating my own maps and my own castles. And what I used to do was make these insanely impenetrable, perfect castles on these grand sweeping maps with all of my lands below this kind of fortress that was always on a hill. And I just absolutely adored creating this kind of perfect, impenetrable place. And what I used to do is I used to spawn a few bandit camps, or this one character called Olaf, who was a Viking and therefore didn't really have access to the bigger guns that would have taken my castle down. And I used to put him right in the corner of the map and then just sit there and play and watch him try and build up an army and take me on. And of course, failing in the process. I just loved doing that. I think I must have done it over and over and over again. You know, when you're a kid, you just you just do it. You don't really think, oh man, I'm going to try something new. Just do the same thing. And as for the story, I played a little bit more of that when I was a little bit older and I had access to cognitive function that would allow me to actually get through it. But I remember playing it through. It is a hard story. So you've got two stories. There's the Path of Peace and the Path of War. And as you can expect, the Path of Peace is more about farming and agricultural and kind of hosting events and stuff. Well, there is some interaction with bandits and you do need some kind of army. The Path of War is where you really get into the meat and potatoes of kind of fighting and taking out all of these different lords. And yeah, I remember that they are very, very difficult campaigns. The Path of Peace, you'd think maybe would be a breeze, is no way. You've got to get so much in short time limits for feasts and kind of hosting events and stuff. And yeah, that's hard enough in of itself. But the Path of War, man, now that is crazy because, as I said, that time-sensitive aspect really makes it so you have to get in there and do everything in a certain time. Otherwise, you lose your troops, or the supporting army that's helping you attack some other castle gets wiped out and you're on your own, and you literally cannot beat the mission unless you kind of get involved with whoever you're playing with, which is usually an AI bot or something. Anyway, I don't want to get distracted by that tangent, but I remember I used to go online and find these guides on these old school kind of I don't know what it was. Maybe I think it was a Stronghold forum or at least medieval castle builder game forums. And I used to use these guides to help me get through each of these levels. I think I actually even have used them post 2015 when I've tried replaying the game. So they're still out there somewhere. And I think on this same website, there were loads of castles that people had uploaded showing off their kind of maps and their castles. And I would love going on them, downloading them, and kind of use those to better my own designs, as well as, of course, the notes I took when I would have these days out with Mum. And years later, I have this vivid memory of me sitting in geography. And I didn't really used to like geography, but it was getting near the end of the day. I think it was probably the last lesson of the day. And I knew I was going to go home and play Stronghold. I don't think I'd touched it for a few years, and for whatever reason, I'd found a way to get access to it again. I'd probably found the old CD-ROM or something. And I was just suddenly so enthusiastic for the lesson because I was that excited to get back and make a castle or play through the story, whatever I was going to do. And it's that kind of grip that the game had on me that I really miss. You know, I still love games, of course I do, and I still very much enjoy sitting down at my computer and playing them, but it's not quite the same as those golden days when you're a kid and, you know, anything could happen when you're sitting there on that computer. And nowadays, you kind of know the way that a gaming session is going to go. You're going to have a couple of hours of good fun, then you're going to get tired, you're going to be thinking about how you need to wake up and go to work or something like that, and it's just going to be, there's a lid on it. Whereas back in the days of Stronghold 2, this thing was an ocean. And there's just something about that era of PC gaming where, you know, a kid could just spend hours building something with no stakes, with no battle passes or live services. I don't want to sound like a grumpy old man, but yeah, just you and your castle. And I guess outside of indie games, they don't really exist like that anymore. So I just thought I'd reminisce about Stronghold 2. And if there's anyone else out there who had a similar experience with this game, because I feel like sometimes I'm the only one who really played it in my kind of peer group, please tell me some stories because I would love to hear them. But yeah, that's it. And I'll see you in the next one, guys.